Hello, I'm Tiffany Cloud. Welcome to The Storm, and thank you for watching today on WYLN 35. The Pennsylvania primary is right around the corner, and one seat that will be challenged, that in the 17th Congressional District, held by Congressman Matt Cartwright. Two Republican candidates are facing off in a primary race to determine who is up against the incumbent in the general election. Well, one of those Republican candidates joins me today. After the break, candidate for Congress in the 17th District, Glenn Geissinger. Welcome back to The Storm. I am joined today by Glenn Geissinger. He is a Republican candidate for Congress in the 17th Congressional District. Glenn, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Tiffany.
I'm happy to have you. This is an exciting race that you have coming up, an exciting primary and an important seat certainly for the Republican Party.
Absolutely. The 17th Congressional District is this big blue horseshoe in northeastern Pennsylvania that we're going to turn red. We're going to make it happen. Okay.
Well, I can't wait to hear how you plan to do that if you'll reveal some of your secrets on the show with me today.
Sure, a couple.
First, I always like, especially since you're new to the show, to have the audience get to know you a bit. So if you could tell the audience a bit about your background in terms of education, business experience,
Sure.
Political background, etc.
Okay. Real quick, I grew up in the Lehigh Valley. I've been working since I was 14 years old. One of the things I learned from my father, who was a carpet and tile guy, union guy his whole life, but I learned how to work hard. And so as soon as I got to be 14, I started working in a restaurant, did food prep, ended up going into waiting tables, bussing tables. I did it all, Then when I went to college, I was in the 723rd MP company over in Lehighton, enlisted in the Guard at that point. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Ended up earning a commission out of college when I graduated. Went into the 82nd Airborne Division, was a platoon leader there. And then I served with the 18th Airborne Corps during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And as we talked about before we came on, I wasn't deployed at that time, but I did serve during that time.
And so, thank you for your service.
Oh, well, you know what? My father was a naval reservist. Ended up retiring as a senior chief petty officer out of the Naval Reserve. And I learned a respect for my country and a duty to my country. And I think that's what this race to me is really all about. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the reason that I'm running against Matt Cartwright is because Matt Cartwright, I haven't seen Matt Cartwright represent his district.
Okay.
And I really haven't seen him represent the people of the 17th Congressional District. And if Matt Cartwright's allowed to get a third term and then maybe a fourth, I don't know that we're going to be able to get him out of that seat.
Okay, and I promise we're going to get into
that
because I want to hear specifically
Sure.
why you don't think and what he hasn't done to serve the district. So we were going to get into that. Before we do, though, in terms of your business experience.
Sure. I apologize. I got off track.
No, that's okay.
A little bit about me. After I got out of the service, I was in sales, I was in banking, had a couple of different opportunities to really kind of learn things from the ground up. And in 1995, I moved back to the Lehigh Valley with my wife. In 1997, I went to work for an advertising firm. Worked my way up from the ground up, became a president of that company and shareholder in that company. Really learned that business well. We did a good job. We were very successful, but I was only a 35% shareholder, and my wife and I, at the beginning of the great Obama recession, made the decision to go ahead and start our own firm.
Wow.
Yeah, and I give all the credit to my wife. My wife was in the advertising business all along. So we ended up starting our own firm, and within the last 7 years, we've managed to grow that from absolute zero to one of the top 100 privately owned firms in the Lehigh Valley.
Congratulations,
well,
that's an accomplishment.
And
in that economy, it's a major accomplishment.
To me, it was all about commitment, and that's one of the things that we needed to do. My wife and I stuck to it. We put everything we owned on the line and ended up going out and making it work. And there were many nights where we didn't get a whole lot of rest. There were many days where we got up early and worked very, very hard to make our clients happy, to make the operation work the way we needed to create the relationships we needed to, and to build a business, something that employed people, something that built value for others. And that's really one of the things that we just absolutely love about being business owners.
Well, it's going to be interesting too. You just caused me to think of something, which is a lot of times in politics, people lack the understanding that it's a lot about marketing.
Oh yeah.
You know, marketing and communications, instead of marketing a product, you're marketing a person and their platforms and their beliefs. You're going to be at a bit of an advantage in terms of the fact that you understand the strategic side of this and you understand how to communicate effectively.
Right. One of the advantages of owning an advertising firm is when I sat down and contemplated this run in the first place, my wife and I sat down, we looked at the numbers. We looked at where the votes were, what we needed to do, how will we go about marketing that message, the distinct geographies that are involved in a 6-county-wide race that really is very diverse. I mean, Northampton County and Schuylkill County and Lackawanna, they're 3 really different places.
Absolutely, yes they are.
So
why then, you have this wonderfully successful business, why do you decide, okay, well, just to make my life more interesting, I'm now going to run for United States Congress?
All right. I'll tell you what, we do have a successful business. My wife and I are happily married, 26 years, 2 great kids, a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. Why run for Congress? I started it earlier. Matt Cartwright doesn't represent this district. I learned when I ran for Northampton County Council at an at-large seat a few years back that in a district that was only 33% Republican, county is only 33% Republican, that I had the ability through my marketing background, through the experience that I've had to connect with voters, to be able to let people know that they are with somebody there who could represent them, could actually do that, and to get that message out. I was very, very successful in that election. And I've proven that in a general election, I have electability. This district matches up almost exactly with Northampton County as far as the numbers, Republican to Democrat, independent, those kind of things. That kind of electability is what I'm going to bring to the 17th district race, which is something we haven't had out of the Republican candidates in the past.
Well, it's interesting because I remember this race very well 2 years ago when you had 3 people running. You had Doc Moylan, you had Matthew Dietz, and you had Matt Connolly, who you'll be facing against again. He's going to take a second run at it. And Matt Connolly actually won the majority of the counties, but because the majority of Republican voters were in the southern counties, Doc Moylan won that. Doc Moylan took the whole thing. What many people really like Doc Moylan, but what Doc Moylan many would argue lacked was both the financial backing and perhaps the communication and charisma that it really requires. I mean, with all due respect to the man, but it really requires that skill to unseat an incumbent congressman. Do you have financial backing and do you have that charisma that's needed?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm familiar with the numbers that both Doc Moylan and Lorraine Cummings raised. We already have more in the bank than the 2 of them had combined.
Okay.
At the end of their campaigns.
Okay.
From the very beginning.
That's big.
So we have a 6-figure bank account already there.
Wow.
And I'm not gonna kid you. I know that money's not enough at this point, but it gives us the opportunity to be able to raise more. It gives us the opportunity to be able to have the fighting chance against Matt Cartwright, because what Cartwright's been able to do is control Lackawanna County. And he's been able to use his name recognition up there to win enough votes to be able to overwhelm the district.
I need to stop you there. We're going to pick this up, though, after break. We have to take a break. We'll be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. I'm joined today by Glenn Geissinger. He's a candidate for United States Congress in the 17th Congressional District. So we were sort of going down memory lane before the break, talking about 2 years ago and sort of the way it's the district is built and how you're going to go about winning the district.
Okay. Well, as we were talking about, one of the problems that we've had in the past on the Republican side is we've had very good conservative candidates, a good message, but no funding. They've been unable to raise the money and get the name recognition. The real trick, in my opinion, to defeating Matt Cartwright is to be able to let the voters know what Matt Cartwright really stands for.
Okay, and let's go there.
Okay.
What does Matt Cartwright, in your mind, really stand for?
Well, Matt Cartwright is an Obama leftist Democrat. That's all he is. And he has proven that time and time again. He has voted to give the Iranian mullahs over $100 billion of our dollars. He's talked about infrastructure in the 17th Congressional District, but I haven't seen a single bill, not one, that he's managed to get through, turn into law, and bring any kind of project, dollars, building, anything back to the 17th Congressional District. He's more worried about keeping Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi happy than he is about actually representing the people of the 17th Congressional District. He voted to not vet the Syrian refugees. He doesn't care about our national security. He doesn't care about the people of the 17th District. And I'm not saying he's a bad person. I don't know. I've only met him once. Okay.
Well, it's interesting you say this because I've had the congressman on my show before, and we admittedly completely disagree. I'm an open conservative.
Right.
He and I politically, we couldn't be more different. But you know, he's always very likable, et cetera. And that's what most people will argue. They'll say, oh, but you know, I know his politics are very liberal, but he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, absolutely, very likable. I've seen him. I've seen him in public. I've seen him at a town hall in Chestnut Hill Township. But here's the thing, Tiffany. On the day that everybody was talking about the Iranian nuclear deal, and he turned around and was supporting the Iranian nuclear deal, he had the nerve to tell about 75 people in Monroe County that the effects of global warming on the rising seawater was going to be do more damage to the United States of America than the Iranian nuclear deal was going to do. Even though he knew that within 10 years they were going to get a nuclear weapon. Even though he knew, as John Kerry has admitted, that that was going to be a point where we were going to use American money to fund terrorism. John Kerry admitted that. And I can't tell you that Matt Cartwright in any way, shape, or form didn't know that out of the gate. How can he say he represents the people of this district when it was our dollar bills that will come back and fund the killing of Americans somewhere in terror?
Well, it's interesting because you earlier mentioned the fact that he somewhat, you didn't use the word parrots, but I'm using the word parrots, the positions of Obama.
Absolutely.
And just like Obama, who spoke about the fact that we are, ISIS is going to be very concerned and scared because we've had this summit, this climate summit, and they're going to be really nervous. And I sort of sat back my day chuckling, thinking, "Oh yeah, what are we going to do? Kill them one carbon emission at a time?" I mean, the fact that the liberal left, the Obamas, you know, to
Right.
your point, you're saying that Congressman Cartwright. How you can say that climate change is a bigger threat right now than terrorism is something that the district should be listening to and taking seriously.
Absolutely. And Matt Cartwright doesn't understand that our national security needs to be our first interest. I've heard Lou Barletta and Tom Marino talk about national security and putting that first. Matt Cartwright doesn't follow that. If Glenn Geissinger is the congressman for the 17th Congressional District, the people of northeastern Pennsylvania will know they will have 3 representatives across the board from the New Jersey border all the way out to central Pennsylvania who realize that our security comes first.
Why do you think then, though knowing that his priorities seem to be different than yours, than mine, but obviously he's been elected and he's been reelected. Sure. What do you think the appeal is in the 17th District? What's happening?
Let's be really fair. I mentioned this before. Lorene Cummings had only about $20,000 to get her message out. Matt Cartwright had an incredible amount of money compared to that.
Of course, and he had the DNC behind him.
And he had the DNC behind him. He had the funding behind him. He had name recognition in Lackawanna County. Lorene was going up for her first the first time she'd run for office that I'm aware of. $20,000 against a machine.
Right.
Matt Cartwright got his name out there. Name recognition. 2 years later, okay, and he won by about 22%, if I remember correctly. 2 years later, Doc Moylan comes along, and with a bankroll of less than $70,000 or $80,000 total in a whole campaign, he manages to cut that lead from 22% to about 12.5%, 13%. Why? Because what little bit he was able to get out, people understood the message. They got to know Matt Cartwright a little better, and they got to know Doc a little better. And he cut into that lead. Now, what happens when you have a candidate who can actually raise money, actually has over $100,000 in the bank already, and actually has a plan and the ability to go to $500,000?
It's a very interesting argument.
Right.
You need to get through the primary first before
Right.
you could be up against Mr. Cartwright and
Sure.
his climate change agenda. How do you delineate yourself, other than the funding aspect? How do you delineate yourself to your Republican primary opponent? Why are you more qualified?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, the funding aspect certainly is key. If you can't raise the money to get your message out, basically what we're going to have is the same thing we've had the last two times. Good conservative candidate who goes down in defeat. We can't afford that. But beyond that, one, I've proven electability. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I've won countywide election, 300,000 possible people that represent right now in Northampton County with the same demographic slant as the 17th Congressional District. My Republican primary opponent has never won election. He 3 times out, this is his 4th time out, he's never won election. My first time out, I won. The second time out, I won. I've won a primary, I've won a general, and I've won another primary for a statewide GOP office. So that in itself has a certain distinction.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I have the distinction of having actually served. I have sat there and listened to a farmer tell me, Glenn, you need to get my bridge fixed. What do you mean your bridge? That bridge that runs between this part of my land and that part of my land, that's my bridge. Because if you don't get that fixed by the time I need to harvest, that's going to mess me up more than $40,000 on my harvest because of the way I'm going to have to go around. The extra time, the extra money, the extra everything. I have true legislative experience. I understand what it means when somebody says, what's in that bill? What are you doing to me? How are you going to affect the daily lives of the people in the 17th District? Right now in Northampton County, we are working on a bill that is going to bring the repair and resurfacing of 1/3 of our bridges. We have almost 120 in the county. 1/3 of those bridges are going to be repaired and resurfaced and maintained over the next 4 years. We're going to do that at a savings of millions of dollars, millions to the taxpayer, and over 800 jobs it's going to create. Real private sector jobs.
Okay. With that said, we have to go to break again. We will be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. So let's imagine Glenn Geissinger, United States Congressman. What would you want to accomplish if elected to office?
Well, the first thing we have to accomplish is we have to improve our national security. I would work with the other 13 congressmen in Pennsylvania, the other 13 Republicans in Pennsylvania, and hopefully the remaining Democrats, and we would immediately work on a bill that would work to secure our to bring our national security, our borders in line. We have decimated our military. And as a veteran, as an American Legion member, we've got to do something to give our military back what they deserve, which is the proper kind of support from the executive branch to the judicial branch. That's why putting a Republican in the White House is key. We've got to put somebody there who's going to lead, but we've got to have a Congress that stands behind them. And that's the first order of the day.
Okay, so your primary interest, like if you got to be on a committee or anything, if you had your ideal
Absolutely.
world, it would have to do with national security.
National security, veterans, those kind of things. I think that those are the places that we need to do first with the national security, and then support our veterans when they come home. We're not doing that.
That's for sure.
We're not. The VA, the health care that the VA receives is absolutely abysmal. We need to fix it. Congressman Dent in the 15th District has already talked about a plan to do that. He's talked about the fact that why don't we allow it to transition into being able to allow our veterans to be able to take care of the civilian health care that's out there. Put them on the plan.
Right.
Get them to do what's already being done for people who haven't served, who are on government assistance. Why can't we allow our veterans good, solid health care?
You and I could have an entire
Yes,
show
we could.
on that
I'm sorry, I
topic.
got
Yes,
sidetracked.
no,
Okay.
that's okay. I want to also give you an opportunity to share some of your endorsements with the audience because you have
Sure.
quite a few impressive ones.
Well, I'll tell you what, right off the top, I'm very, very proud of the fact that when I looked at this opportunity, Mario Scavello, state senator from our area, Monroe and Northampton County, he immediately came out and endorsed. State Representative Marsha Hahn immediately came out and endorsed. I've worked with her before. She is my state representative. She knows the work that I've done in Northampton County. Ernie Pruitt Jr., former Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania. Fred Anton, chairman of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. He's recognized that what I want to do is bring jobs to the 17th district. On top of national security, my second thing is jobs. Let's work on our industry. Let's work on our Marcellus Shale drilling. Let's work on building our infrastructure up. Not the garbage that Matt Cartwright promised and didn't do. Let's actually get pay parity at Toby Hanna Army Depot. Let's do the things that Matt Cartwright's talked about doing that are good. We'll do them. The things that he's talked about that aren't good, we're gonna get them off the table. Like worrying more about global warming than national security, which is what Matt Cartwright's done.
If people want to learn more about your campaign, if they want to donate to your campaign, get involved with your campaign, where would they go?
Okay, our website is Geissinger. That's 2 S's. Geissinger for Congress.
No relation to the hospital or possibly a distant splinter.
If you go back through the family tree, my understanding is there is a common relative to all of us. Yeah, distant enough that we have 2 S's instead of 1.
Okay.
And it's Geissinger with the number 4 Congress.com. So Geissinger for Congress.com.
Okay, we have about a minute or so left to go. I want to really give you an opportunity to appeal directly to the people and tell them, the Republicans out there that are thinking of going to the ballot on to vote in April,
right?
Why they should vote for you.
Well, very simple. On April 26th, you want to be able to, as a Republican, pick somebody who, 1, has electability. I've proven that. Somebody who has the fundability. Somebody who's going to be able to get their message out and defeat Matt Cartwright. I've proven that I have that ability as well. Somebody who's already proven that they can legislate, that they understand what it means and the impact that it gives to somebody when a law is passed. I've proven that as well. And somebody who's proven fiscal responsibility. In Northampton County, we have trimmed 12% of our budget, $37 million swing from the day I walked into office to today. We've done that in just over 2 years. That is the kind of responsibility I bring to Washington.
Well, I have to say this: if you do win the nomination from your party, if you do win, I think Matt Cartwright might have his work cut out for him. It was a pleasure interviewing you, sir, and best of luck in the upcoming election. And remember, folks, when you look around and don't like what you see, don't complain about it. You can do something about it. You can vote. Thank you for watching.